Generative Sales and Marketing Show. I am your host, Adam Bloom. It is Series 1, Episode 1. So I'm very excited about this. If I can get my mouse working, I recently wrote a book covering the same topic, and it's mainly because I pretty much automated myself out of a gig with AI, and so the world is changing. Let me jump right into an example of what I'm talking about, the types of things we're going to cover on this show. And it's going to be a deep dive. My background is in 25 plus years of software, CRM, CX, BI, AI, and on. But what really struck me the other day, was that I searched Microsoft Bing for this. All right. What are the top competitors of Salesforce? Now, the way the world has always worked, or at least since search engines started in the late 90s, and they started selling for you, but it was just a click to get to your website, then you got to sell. What we're seeing now with Bing, and of course Google is going to have it too, is that they're actually starting to tell you about your product, right? So it's saying they're a leader, here's the competitors, and they're saying they're comprehensive and it combines ERP. And so they're already starting to sell you before they even get to your website. This is going to dramatically change what's going on. And it's interesting too that Forbes is up here. But then in example number 2, a lot of you, especially if you've been doing product marketing or content marketing or probably even strategic selling, head of growth, stuff like that, you've been to G2, right? And you see the filters here. And in this case, I went for robotic process automation, and I scrolled down here to Rocketbot. I don't work for them. It was just a random selection. But by the time I scrolled down, I saw this. And what this is saying I'm an AI expert and I can chat, right? So while this whole website, G2, and there's many others like them, has a grid and explains to you, the users and the industries and the market segments and all that, now I'm going to be chatting about these products before I ever potentially talk to a salesperson, which is mind-blowing. So these are the kind of things that we're going to talk about in the context of the book. And what I always want to start off with after that example is gratitude. I feel like this is an important part of my life, so I want to thank everyone that I've learned anything in business from. I really have tried to learn something from everyone in business that I've worked with, and even from afar. Of course, there are some people that no matter how hard you try, you're not going to learn something, which is mean to say, but we all know it's true. So I also want to thank everyone who is tuning in to the show, this episode. And of course, let's take a deep breath here. And keep going. All right. So in this world, we've got, the scientist guy here from Back to the Future. We got a young Michael Keaton. If anyone doesn't know this, it is a famous movie from the 80s. And what he says is, where we're going, we don't need roads. There are no roads. So what we've got in this book is I've got experience working with tons of content, tons of systems, and hands-on with generative AI. However, the market is so early and moving so fast, we definitely don't have a map. We have a compass and we have some roads being carved out, but yeah, we're gonna fly. So I started this with what's the goal? And I'm gonna try to do the, do I have it right? Maybe it's this hand. There we go. Am I getting it right? I don't know. And anyway, I started with a goal, and that led me to Simon Sinek. Why? Right? Why are we doing this show? So I wanted to go on this journey together with other people because it helps a lot. And this road is not going to be easy. It's going to be a fast road, but not easy. So that was the first goal. And I began to take inspiration from, your famous business people. It's folks that CEOs or VPs of sales will quote, to inspire others. And so with Henry Ford, he was like, revise any system, scrap any method, and abandon any theory if the job requires it, which I could just imagine him like, the production line is like, we need to do a better way to make these screws, or, we gotta, do something else to bend the metal. In any event, and then there was Peter Drucker, famous management consultant, famous. If you want to do something new, you gotta stop doing something old. So, kind of a big message there. Again, that's what the book's about, and that's what the show's about. And then with Bezos, right? Co-evolving with our tools. The tools are already changing us. We sit around with this thing right in front of our faces. We already live in this virtual world, and now that we can have full-on conversations with software and data, wow, it is changing us just as much as we're building it or changing it. So with that inspiration, I also said, you know what? This is who I am. I want to help business leaders improve outcomes. I've always focused on this. And, we got our main ICP here, which is the top brass kind of deal. And I also think technologists, especially in this generative AI era, as coding gets automated, are going to be very interested in a certain number of coders are going to want to move more into creating business value. So here's the sweet spot. The sweet spot is much like, let me draw my little Venn diagram. I have an obsession with them. We've got sales over here. We've got marketing over here. I would actually kind of place the website here because that's where it goes. And then this is product, right? But in this area, which I'm going to do some other little pattern here, so you can see it's different. This has been known as product-led growth, right? And so what I'm really seeing is that generative AI, of course, it's going to, radically change websites. But in the overlap between marketing and product and sales and product, I think this, let me draw it this way, this little 3-leaf clover or propeller, whatever it is, we're going to have generative AI-led growth versus product-led growth. To me, that's the new era. That's the sweet spot of where we're talking. And I'm not going to do tutorials. I'm going to tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to do just tutorials. There's tons of that out there on YouTube. Tons. But it's not going to be boring. Some of those are very boring. Very, very boring. And this is also not something you can avoid in your life. With Gen AI, it's changing the world. It's unavoidable. There's nothing you can do to hide. So, with that said, before we get on with it, I want to say Pakua Kitabu Ure Kwenye Wavuti Yangu. And that is actually Swahili for free book download at my website. And that actually is not a joke. It is Swahili for free book download at my website. So if you go over to the website, adambloom.me, you can get to the LinkedIn. I'm going to have this stuff on YouTube. And then one of my favorite things that show hosts always do is promote themselves in a not so in your face way. So my favorite guy actually whispers and he's like, please follow, subscribe, get notified, and comment. So shake it up a little bit, do it that way. Maybe I'll do it a different way the next time. In episode 1, and this is where we are. We're in episode 1. There's going to be 3 segments, and you'll notice throughout the book we have this whole green pill, blue pill. I should give him a smile maybe. In any event, green pill, blue pill, red pill. There is no green pill, which is, based on a movie. I hope you know which one it is, but it's about, the change we're facing. And while I'll have a bunch of different segments, The 3 segments here, let me go over real quick. We're going to do a flyby of the book. All right. We'll unpack the book in further episodes, but when I say flyby, I mean I'm going to click long enough and maybe point out one thing per chapter. And otherwise, if you want to read it, you can press pause and read it, or you can go down down, low, down. I feel like I'm glitching. Maybe I'm a bot. Anyway, you can go download the book. So if I show you real quick, you go to my website. Come on, website. Wow, it's frozen. Oh, unfrozen. Very good. Good job, computer. So chat with me. As you can see here, I'm putting a bot up on my site. And if you scroll down and go to, this is like the main nav, the book, you will see, there it is. You can get it there. And then this are some of the nice things people are saying. We got some, pretty big roles. Director of Enterprise Data, a huge company. Founder of a 300-person consultancy. This guy over here, he's been working in the MarTech space for at least 10 years, leading product for a media company, and he had nice things to say too. So, with that said, the flyby. The next segment is I'm gonna have a short whiteboard segment. Sometimes we'll do these a lot more, but I found this nice, fun, funny dog whiteboard, and my favorite thing in it is pee on it, and before that it's chase thing, and then after that it's sniff thing. Yeah, so that'll be segment 2, and then segment 3, I'm going to talk a little bit about what it's like to be replaced by AI. And I can tell you, replacing part of my brain is very different than replacing a hip, and I don't know if I'm pleased with it or not, but there's kind of no fighting it. So that's going to be segment 3, and the first segment is brought to you by deviled eggs. Why deviled eggs? Because it popped in my head and I liked them, and I don't have any sponsors teed up yet. I'm looking at affiliate programs. We'll see what happens, but that's who this segment's brought by. All right, part A of the flyby. This is going to be quick. Dedicated the book to my daughter. You can see here she was 8, and we started to do a show together about business. Unfortunately, or fortunately, we only had 1 episode. However, she already is using generative AI extensively, and I'm teaching her to, because by the time she's in college, everything's going to be different. Yeah, everything's going to be different. So anyway, love you, sweetheart. Talk to you later. The table of contents. All right. This is how it's organized. We're going to start with the executive stuff. I'm going to use her as an example, and we're going to go through how I taught her very easily with DALL-E how to create a professional quality illustration. So that whole domain is changed. I'm going to explain a little bit about how a good bit about how it works. I'm going to go through my examples of things that I've done in sales and in marketing and with solution consulting. Then we're going to get into organization and budget changes. So this book is a deep dive. It's for intellectuals, for thinkers, for leaders who really have to kind of get their head wrapped around the big picture. All right. There's changes for sales and marketing. There's changes for customer experience. We're going to spend a little bit of time going through the concepts of UI and prompt design, because, well, they're just different than the history of UI design for the past 25 years, unless you've just been messing with bots. And that's what we're going to go through. So I'll get to part B of that in a minute, but I want to go to the next segment. That is brought to you by Spam. Now, why Spam? Because I thought it would be cool. I still don't have sponsors. So if there's anyone out there in Spam who works at Spam, I went to spam.com. It's actually apparently very good to cook with. And I can't say that I've had it in a long time. But anyway, and then I'm going to dedicate this segment to dogs, because who doesn't like a cute little wiener pup? All right. And that leads into the dog thought process. Wait. which we already talked about. Sorry, I got confused. I was like, didn't I already outline? Yeah, we did. So with the whiteboard segment, one thing I don't do in the book is I don't talk about the market extensively. I talk about the concepts and the frameworks and the ways you need to think about solving problems in this space. But I want to just show real quick, and I'd already marked up some things. You see generative AI landscape, all right? And they're organizing it by text, image, audio, code, etc., etc. Now, the bots and some of these things overlap. Some of these things are not like pure images. And then over here, you're missing things like Grammarly or Microsoft Word. So it's a moving target. And while you can look up this one, I'm also going to show one from Sequoia Capital, another good one. And I had marked this up. So here they've got text, but they're breaking it down a little differently, right? And then lastly, I'll share the CB Insights one. Again, you can pause on any of these, but this is fast moving space. It's the fastest I've been through, and I've been through the late 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s. I've worked at one of the AI companies grew to 40, the open source company I worked with grew to 40 million in year one. So I've done a lot of market analysis. I've dealt with analysts and, constantly put research together for executives or forwarding things to the executive leadership team. And so all I have to say is this is nuts, crazy, which is what everyone's saying. Now, this one, I want to, sorry, folks. I can't pause. Oh, good Lord. All right, let me get rid of these really quick. Let's see what can happen. Boom, boom. Oh, I'm so sorry about this, but, it wouldn't be a show that's real if we didn't have some things like that. Come on. Move, mouse, move. Let's go. Boom, bam. 1, 2, 3, 4. I hope this is not too awkward. I hate that this happened, but really important that I spend the time to draw this again. And obviously I need to get my stuff together in terms of resetting my PowerPoint. Okay, so what I wanted to point out is really a couple of things that are important to think about as this market unfolds. Is one, over here we've had this infrastructure platform and software as a service stuff now going on for, I think pizza as a service. If you haven't seen the pizza as a service diagram, it's a great, cute, clever way to do that. But what this all talked about was down here, who was managing the infrastructure, right? And when we look at the infrastructure for generative AI, some of this is going to be hidden down here below, right? And certain providers will do all of this for you. And then on the other end of the spectrum, if you're building your own kind of stack for generative AI, well, somebody might take care of this for you and this for you, but you're going to build your own applications on top of it, and you may need to connect to other services. But why this is important to keep in mind is because Gen AI is generally a utility model. You pay for what you use, which is dramatically different. If you're talking to software vendors, you're buying software, you're evaluating them. We have a lot of the traditional SaaS apps that are like a monthly per user, or maybe there's a certain amount of records or things like that. In this utility model with generative AI, there's going to be these potentially gigantic shifts between cost, quality, and speed. So if you design something maybe for super high quality, it might not be as fast, and it also might be way more expensive. And thinking through these trade-offs is really an important reason to, partner with your technology team. When I look at the stack in this space, and I'm going to use examples here: CRM, OpenAI, and Microsoft. All right. When you look at an app like Grammarly, what you've got browser plugins and some basic UI, and they really are distributed by these browser plugins. And then for the most part, Grammarly takes care of this. Takes care of this layer. It takes care of the logic. It takes care of any vendor LLM data or third-party data, and you really don't get to use your own data store, right? When it comes to Jasper, they're working on browser plugins, but they've got their own UI and they've got an API. All right. But then when it comes to the logic, you're going to have much less control. And I like to think of these trade-offs in a general framework of, what do you control? What do they control? And what is shared control? All right. So you're probably not going to control the logic. Now with Paperflight, so Jasper is like a generative AI marketing writing solution with additional automation under it. And then Paperflight is more like content management and automation for sales. And with Paperflight, you don't see the same kind of plugins. With Grammarly, you've got so not so much of this, you got more of that. And then you see these things kind of starting to come out, and then you're probably not going to have control over, these should be X's. You're not going to have control over this kind of stuff. Now, with Salesforce, HubSpot, and Zoho, I do want to carve out that this is Zoho CRM and Salesforce CRM. All right, because both those companies have plenty of other solutions in their stack. And what we're seeing here is for all three of them, yes, browser plugins exist. Yes, they've got existing UI where they're going to add more stuff. Yes, they have APIs. Yes, you're going to be interact with logic. All right, all three of these, boom, 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 boom. And then the question is going to be, how much of this part are they going to do and allow you to do? Certainly, they should allow you to use their CRM data store to ask questions, and probably you'll have access to your data store and can do things, but how you interact with this stuff, I think it's, maybe it's not a question mark, but it's cutting edge, right? With OpenAI, what you've got is you've got a pretty simple UI, right? But it lets you do valuable things. And then you've got, this right here is the magic. If you want to build your own custom app, right, you can create your own UI and use their API with or without logic, right? And then things in this logic space, like the most famous, I think, is LangChain, which is a developer library for orchestrating all this kind of stuff. And then you can decide if you're building a big custom app that you want to use third-party stuff or your stuff, or some vendor, Anthropic, OpenAI, Gemini, etc. All right. And then over here, I wanted to put Microsoft, because Microsoft is just, they are executing like crazy. So first of all, you see browser plugins all over the place already. And if you're using Edge, they're just kind of built in. If you're in Word, now you've got AI inside of the whole Windows, right? So you've got browser plugins, not to mention their CRM as well. All right. You got prompt inputs with Bing. You're seeing it again. You've got prompt inputs, and with Developers Copilot again. And then they all are going to have APIs, and you're going to be able to do what you want with the logic within certain constraints. And then, of course, so a lot of freedom here, a lot of complexity, but also able to do a ton of things. All right. So that's one whiteboard. It's a way to look at the market. And I want to take a pause for a minute. My second infomercial advertisement for the book. And I'll let you guess what this one is, but I've actually been studying this and learning to speak it. So let me give it my best shot. It is Jamaican patois. So, which it says, "What going man? My book for me web page. No go no further added that." And so what that means, again, is there's a free book download at my website. And there you have it. All right, so flyby part B. I'm going to, yes, I want to keep those. And I'm going to switch to the book, which is here. And I'm going to go through a flyby because I don't want this to be too long. All right, book cover, PowerPoint layout. Here's why, tons of diagrams. Can't remember if I just said this, but it's 80 pages. I think if you fold it in half, it's 160 pages. Not so many words, a lot of visuals, because I think visuals communicate a lot more. Always have a challenge when I'm reading some thick, dense book and there's no visuals. In any event, all right, we went through the dedication. There's a preface. I'm going to keep going at this speed almost. I'll slow down just a little bit. But we talked about the table of contents. I hit on the ICP. I will note some things here since I didn't go over depth in the market. All these folks are saying a bunch of things about it. All right, you can look at the Google Trends. This is a classic case study. I put all key takeaways up here. All right, so you can look at the problem, the target companies. You know, this is your ICP stuff. All right. I designed this book to remix. We can call it open source. I'm not putting a lot of citation because this is like a lifetime of information and like 1,000 bookmarks of recent stuff. Anyway, love the attribution, appreciate it, but I really want to know it helped you. And this I kind of designed so you could leave it there and add your own copy over here or up here, however you want. All right, shout out to my homies, people I worked with. All right, chapter 1. We got sections, value migration, etc. And again, I'm not going to say a lot about these slides, so I'm going to try to be entertaining. In any event, major point to make with executives, if they're not getting their head wrapped around it completely, that's what that slide's for. The bottom line, I will point out, range find on what you spend in sales and marketing. And you're already seeing this go up to Wall Street. I don't care if you're doing the mega business case, a pragmatic one, or like gut feel. You can range find and get an idea already. And from what I've seen after people promising years and years and years of ROI on software and seeing where companies are failing with it or succeeding with it, this is a very realistic range. And until you kind of unpack where your company is, you don't have all the details. Impossible to say. But we've already seen, let's see, IBM and Klarna recently doing like major replacements. So this is where it is. All right, the white collar evolution, spend some time on that. I'm just going to point to the fact that the front line and the management are going to shift big. All right, how kids use Gen AI. This was with my daughter. So she really started with this drawing and came out with this illustration, and it was completed quick. All right, little bit of training, lot of output, right? And of course, I capture here what she went through and how she evolved. And then I put my university professor hat on and I said, well, let's use this example of graphics alongside text. And her favorite artist on that last illustration was Melanie Martinez. And so I'm going to use looking at it in text with a CFO buyer. And so I start to go through that thinking, but using it in an experiment. Like, how do I reapply what I just taught her to the thoughts in this book? So I really started off with Morpheus. Orpheus. I think I put Orpheus here, but it's really Morpheus. Anyway, he transformed a little bit into that, and once I got the background, the middle ground, and the foreground ironed out, I could literally start adjusting. So in this case, I was like, make him a white dude, right? Then it was the next one. Make him a younger black woman. All right. Then it was this, which I think was like redhead Asian. I don't know, but I didn't have the exact background I wanted yet. Anyway, then there was this one, and you can start to see there's these elements in the background that I've got, like what it was is a mix of kind of a Shakti Hindu feel with some Leonardo da Vinci. So again, as you go through these, what I did was I created a core and started to get the common elements nailed down. So we explained that. I'm going to go into how Gen AI works. All right, we're going to give a summary, etc. This is the summary. Interestingly, users put data in and out and a bunch of stuff happens, but the magic is back there, right? And so the book lets you think through this quite a bit. This is one of the most important slides, and I will take a minute on this because what I've experienced and what I consult my clients with and other companies, oh wow, there's a leaf floating up through the air. I'll take that as a good omen. When you load all this kind of stuff in here and you leverage the large language models, I view this as kind of a small language model, or maybe it's a medium language model, but you can then ask any kind of request of this thing, right? And so as I was doing my pilots, I realized I could answer questions for customers, and I wasn't like just asking something random. I was asking something specific to the seed content. This was helping me communicate. But I could get sales questions answered. I could create all kinds of marketing, and creatively, it can do so many other things, including like I wanted something written in the style of Yoda, which was fun, or the CFO, which was also fun. So if we keep going, we get into the tech magic, and we're explaining what it is. We're talking about the parameter count. I go through a bunch of Gen AI use cases that I've collected, and there's articles and articles out there about this stuff, but it's all over the map. There's so many things you can do with it. Then we get into chapter 4. So I'll explain some of the apps I've built, and I'll get into some details, and I'll talk about the startups. So again, I'll unpack these in future episodes. I'm just giving you the flyby. Like that? Flyby. That was fancy. Fly 2 ways. Yeah. Oh, you can see I've got like magic hands, like ghost hands too, with my special filter. In any event, all right, those are some of the apps I built using sales script, white paper, web pages, and then I've actually treated this book like software. So I've been creating a lot of stuff based on the book, and again, the 20 startups. So get into some details there. Here's a list of the startups. All right. And again, we're going to unpack these, but if you read through this, there's a lot of thoughts. It's going to require you to think. I'm not just going to let you read and read and read. I'll write another book, another version where it's all explained, but for right now, use ChatGPT to ask it questions. And you can't go ask on my website yet. That's coming soon. I'll figure out a way to get something out there soon. In any event, the Oregon budget changes. All right, so this is a big deal. This is a scary big deal. The way I'm seeing things change right now, we're like looking at this kind of stuff, and then people are doing these pilots, and then all of a sudden, you're like, wait a second, we need the same content coordinated in the whole customer experience, right? Whether it's sales or product or marketing. Sorry, I've got these little baby belches, which is something no news anchor or on-air personality said ever. The budgets, you can kind of see them stepwise. Here's marketing. All right, we go through that. Big important thing on the media investment of this, all right? If you're an executive, and I've had to make the case, so many times, this is not like a normal software investment unless you've done an artificial intelligence investment. This is way more like a media investment. And so a lot of marketers, a lot of salespeople, you're still out there, certainly with marketing, like getting a budget every quarter or renewing it or thinking all the returns going to come back in that one fiscal year. No, not with this. If you treat it like that, you're going to way way underinvest, and it is going to put you at a huge competitive disadvantage. A huge competitive disadvantage. Okay? Changes to sales and marketing. We'll fly through this one. Like my little zoom in here. I thought this thing was really cool. So, yeah, and then we got like a neck chakra thing going on. In any event, this explains kind of like we're in the 90s, all this stuff's jumbled, and then we went through all of this, right? And these things that I put in blue are all impacted or should be integrated with generative AI. And another important chart, my view is we've got all these product interactions, we've got all these human interactions, we've been trying to move these here or here. We got all these marketing, online interactions and all this stuff. But what's going to happen is we're going to have to kind of coordinate everything. And as human interactions move one way or the other, the customer experience is integrated. Let's call it that way. All right. Product-led growth. I really see this is the biggest opportunity here because you've already got an integrated group. It's very hard to get these teams to work together sometimes, right? It takes a lot more time and energy. All right, the old process, I'll just point out, this is what it was, and this is what it is. If you're saying, like I've had a lot of people say, oh, Adam, it can't be that much. And I'm like, I've done it myself. I've created a bot and gave it the right information and really got the tuning right, the prompt engineering right, and it will spit out 30 marketing deliverables in a minute. So I've seen it with my own eyes. If you're questioning it, I would maybe consider changing your mind. In any event, we go further deeper into it. In this area, I explain how more strategic folks can use Gen AI to do the kind of research work you would do for messaging. I also explain the outputs of messaging from this. And for me, this is really important. If you are going to use generative AI heavily, you better have the right core data. And I keep shaking my hand in front of the camera. It's like a, I don't know, pencil thin mustache. In any event, we go into new product launch, web-based selling. All right. And then there's all these CX process changes. So I'm not going to, go over again and again and again and again why the book is separate or why I use diagrams or some of the comments I've made before. This is meant to get you to think. That's why it's visual. Here, the customer experience, I start to explain the layout of like, here's your software product, here's the humans, and here's your apps. Right. And then we go deeper into the interactions and everyone's like the customer journey. When I see people write new things about the customer journey, I'm like, that word's been used for over 2 decades. Right. But customer journey, customer experience, it really helps us break down what's happening. And the important part here is that it gives you a framework to think through what you want to do first, second, and third, because you're not going to do it all at once. It's going to be like every other software project where, there's some type of phasing or crawl, walk, run. However, I want to point out an example. So here is a customer purchasing something, talking to a human, and then the human enters it into a app, and then this comes back to the person that bought it. Well, this one, if it was the same thing, a human, this customer, right, is not going to have to interact with this salesperson, and they're just going to go to the website and they're going to chat and place an order, right, some way, shape, or form, or they're going to ask about the implementation details, things like that. Or if they're a consumer, yeah, they would place an order. So, all right, again, top opportunities here. I explain them, and then we get into, this is almost the last chapter. We get into some of the keys of UI UX prompt design, because if you're going to change a process and the UI is something a customer interacts with, and you are going to be integrating some type of sales, marketing, product information into this UI through a bot, of course, we have to understand that, quality. First of all, quality is going to be critical. If you rush like a lot of companies do, and you're like, let's just get it out the door, and you put out something that's like C plus, B minus, B plus work, oh man, that's going to come back and bite you. Finally, we're at a time where quality really matters. And so the design thinking is going to impact the quality and the integration of this, and ultimately the user and the customer experience. So I unpack it a good bit. Again, I go back to this design thinking in layers, because thinking in layers and filters is really going to help you understand prompt design and prompt engineering. Just that's the bottom line. So go through and explain some of this stuff, and then I recap the text summary. I point out why this is so different, right? Why this is so different. Tell you what changes here. Here's requirements change here. If you used to capture use cases and things like that, stories, Jiras, whatever you want to call it, a lot of things change here. I go through, there's a lot of people out there that don't realize how many different prompt controls you can still add. So there's a list of those. And then I unpack these different layers a bit. And this is good for a business person who doesn't understand all the details to get more of a handle around it. And again, if you want to know more about any of these slides, just send the question to ChatGPT. I would love if you share it with me. I also would love to have people on this show ask me questions, send me articles, anything you want to do to interact. Please, love it, appreciate it. Mwah. All right, again, we go through layers, another view of it, because again, layers and filters and design thinking, and I don't mean the design thinking everybody's talking about recently. I mean the design thinking that started in the 60s, the original design thinking that's come forward in many ways, but kind of has gotten misused more recently. So we go through this kind of stuff again. I do not get into this. I don't get into this. It's its own thing. It's a big deal. All right. And then chapter 8 is prompt engineering. So again, requirements change. I'm going to explain how requirements change. Monthly releases versus daily releases. All right. And then there's some terms to understand. If you're a business person, you're getting up to speed, you kind of need to know what these basics are. All right. And then at the end of the book, it is a minute about ChatGPT mentions, because, meant to discard that, because it's such a new big deal thing. Oh, there's one more thing I forgot. There we go. ChatGPT mentions, because it basically is a bot integration, which is a big deal if you think about a middleware integration. Totally changes the game. Get one bot's response, ask another bot to come do something with it. All right. Gen AI app selection. I list a bunch of questions to think through as you're going through app selection, and then start to outline a roadmap, which you see a lot of people doing. Are you going to go for it? This is one of my favorite kind of Bob Marley interpretations. Plus me speak Jamaican patois, man. So that's the end. It's a little bit about me, but yes, I'll keep the links. I'm going to have to go back and clean that up. But that was Flyby Part B. And so we're going to round out the end of this show. Hopefully I'm keeping it at 45 minutes. And the next one is dedicated to kittens, because who doesn't like a cute, furry little kitten? There's some people out there that hate kittens, but they make most people smile. In any event, boop, 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 boop. Next segment, dedicated to kittens. The last one was part B. You got a flyby of the book. And this is the third segment in this episode, and it's what it's like to be replaced by AI. And I decided this segment is brought to you by R2D2 for various reasons. So, my OMG moment. Very simple. I've done a lot of work with writing and images in sales, in marketing, in product, in requirements, in consulting, like, whew. And what I know about AI and the math behind it and all these kinds of things, I've been dealing with AI for like 12 years and predictive before that and blah, blah, blah. But I know where this is going, and I already automated all the major marketing output that I would normally create by hand that would take me a month. Well, first there's messaging to go through, but after that, well, messaging I can do 10 times faster, but then all this other stuff, it's like, holy cow. You better know how to be an AI operator and operate this thing, because wow, I mean, it just was mind-blowing. Then, since I've done so much sales enablement and I've been in sales and things like this, been a solution architect, oh man, you could ask it any question about your product. I mean, we already have search on the website, we have search on the community, we have search in the documentation, we have search in the product, we have, okay, you get one kind of advanced federated search, and it's not going to be easy to make sure that bot, it's not going to answer everything like a salesperson. It's not going to be able to, and I mean a real human salesperson. It's and this is more of a B2B versus a B2C. B2C, it probably can, unless it's a really complicated sale, and even buying a home is probably going to be Gen AI answers better than agents. Maybe buying insurance. I don't know. What's the most complicated human sale? I think vacation homes, cars. Not sure. In any event, on the B2B side, we're going to be building, and I've already started designing a prototype for the future where it can answer questions. And it can prompt questions to the human. So the human can ask it a question and it'll answer, but it'll also say, hey, I want to know more about this. And when I did a pilot with this, head explosion. I should have a GIF up here right now with one of these things. Looks kind of like a chef hat, maybe atom bomb. Maybe that's better, but that's a real OMG moment. And so we're going to unpack that. And like I said, I ran pilots in the first two areas, a lot of product marketing, a lot of content marketing, a lot of preparation for sales. And then the company I was with, actually, we were automating solution architecture. And the CEO would say, I'm going to replace Adam. And sure as shinola, the last demo I saw, I'm like, whoa. It's not fully replacing me, but it can replace a lot. And so, again, head explode. My last one. This one I'm going to totally mess up. And I'm trying to read, if you can't tell, what it says in Japanese. But that is Japanese. And I took some in high school, but that was a while ago. So whatever it is, that basically means there's a free book download at my website. There you go. And on the next show, I will tell you, we are going to explore how to get information out of a small language model as if we are Snoop, and we will be unpacking the high level, the first chapter of the book. So, did I make it in 45 minutes? 48.579. I think, I'm going to have to clean all these annotations, but I think we're done. I think that's the last slide. So I made it. Yeah, that's the last slide. All right. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed the show. Feedback, please. I love you for feedback already. Thank you for those of you who are giving me feedback. It is going to be so appreciated. All right. Talk to you soon.